Yo, we just received a leaked video that may tell us who Kamala Harris is planning to choose as VP tomorrow morning, and she has had to speed through the process over the past 2 weeks, weighing all of her options, looking at all of the data, and right now this article reads, Kamala Harris, Vice President choice narrows to Walz or Shapiro, sources say, and those are two great choices right there. Really quickly, leave a comment. Who do you want out of these two choices right here? Make sure you leave a like on the video. So I'll show you this leaked clip we just got, but first, the Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris says she has yet to decide. The two are governors of Minnesota, Tim Walz, and Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. And I will say that Pennsylvania is the tipping point state of this election. Whoever wins Pennsylvania wins the entire election, according to most models right now. Kamala Harris's choice will join her in challenging Republicans J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And I can't lie, both of these men are great choices to take down Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. They both have their own strengths. Let's go over a quick clip of each of them. This is Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota.
Here's the great news. How often in 100 days do you get to change the trajectory of the world? How often in 100 days do you get to do something that's going to impact generations to come? And how often in the world do you make that bastard wake up afterwards and know that a black woman kicked his ass and sent him on the road? And you know that's something that guy's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. So I got to tell all of you, please, please do what you can. Here's the great news.
So some strengths about Tim Walz. He's a great communicator, but the thing about him is he is incredibly relatable. He may be one of the most relatable politicians I've ever seen. I mean, the pictures of him and his family, the pictures of him going to Home Depot and getting planks of wood or just light bulbs. He is just a normal dude who happens to be a governor, and I think that could play very well on the national stage. Now, with Josh Shapiro, he is also an amazing communicator. He gives some great speeches, and he's also from Pennsylvania, the tipping point state. Now let's watch this clip, then I'll tell you who the VP pick may possibly be.
He's told us what he wants to do. Y'all go crack open that whole Project 2025 thing.
Yep.
Go take a look. Go take a look at what his buddies and all his former staff wrote. That is, hold on, I'm going to repeat it. These are not my words. These are words this guy in the front row. That's some scary shit right there. That's what he just said. It's really scary. It is an agenda to take away more of your freedoms.
All I've been asking for the past few months is for a Democrat to go up on stage and explain the threat that Donald Trump poses with Project 2025 with the Supreme Court, and Josh Shapiro is doing that. That is a great strength of his.
It is an agenda to use the police and the military in this country to settle scores with his enemies. It's an agenda to pollute our air, and it's an agenda to undermine our public health and our public safety.
Incredibly well said. On to this tweet with 5 million views, and it was sent only a few hours ago. So Dan Green tweeted, I live outside of Tim Walz's residence. A bunch of black SUVs just rolled out. I am not a betting man, but the vibe seemed very, quote, this guy just got picked as VP. Feel to interpret how you wish. Let's watch the clip. Now, this could be a video that tells us who was just picked. It has many, many views, many people speculating, many people that are high up in the Democratic ranks speculating in the replies. But the thing is, I have heard stories of campaigns trying to throw people off the scent of the trail, if that makes sense. And that actually could be why they're making the announcement in Pennsylvania tomorrow, because they want to make it seem like Josh Shapiro is the pick when it's actually Tim Walz. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I think we're in good hands either way. I think both of these men can take J.D. Vance in a debate. Let's watch another clip of Tim Walz.
Who's asking for this crazy stuff? Who's asking to raise the price of insulin? Who's asking to get rid of birth control? They do these focus groups or whatever. Who's sitting in a bar in Racine, Wisconsin saying, we need to ban Animal Farm? Nobody is. They're talking about real things. So when these guys get in situations in front of real people and trying to pretend like they know what people are going through, they've got nothing to offer. And no one can picture them in their own lives. I brought this thing up. Who's asking for this crazy stuff? Who's sitting in a bar in Racine, Wisconsin saying, we need to ban Animal Farm? Nobody is. They're talking about real things. So when these guys get in situations in front of real people and trying to pretend like they know what people are going through, they've got nothing to offer. And no one can picture them in their own lives. I brought this thing up that Donald Trump tries to mock Vice President Harris for laughing. And I made the point, you never see this guy laugh.
Yep.
You never see him do these normal things. Imagine when I go home at night, I pick up the Frisbee and throw it, and my dog catches it, he comes over, he gets the belly rub for being a good boy. Picture these guys doing that kind of stuff. They just can't. And
you can't picture it at all, and Tim Walz is a great communicator. Keep in mind, he's the one who created the entire weird narrative the Democrats are now using as an offensive, and it's perfect. Republicans are incredibly weird. Now, this article reads, Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris has narrowed her search for a vice presidential running mate to two finalists, Governors Tim Walz of Minnesota and Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, three sources with knowledge of the matter said. Harris, the U.S. vice president, is expected to announce her selection by Tuesday, which is tomorrow morning, ahead of her first public appearance with her running mate that evening at Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And like I said, they could be trying to throw us off of the trail by hosting it in Pennsylvania, where Josh Shapiro is governor, when it's actually the governor of Minnesota, but who knows? Leave a like on the video if you're cool with either, honestly, if you think that both of them are good communicators, and way less weird than JD Vance, way cooler than JD Vance. I could have a beer with both of those dudes. In a message to supporters late on Monday, Harris said she had yet to make her decision. Quote, I know many of you are eager to find out who I will be selecting to join me on the campaign trail, and hopefully in the White House as my vice president, Kamala Harris wrote just a few hours back. Quote, though I've not made my decision yet, it is important to me that grassroots supporters, like you, have direct updates about the state of the race, she said, offering voters a chance to sign up on a link to get news of the announcement first. And keep in mind, the entire campaign has been run off of grassroots supporters thus far. She raised $300 million in donations off of people like you and I donating 20 to 50 bucks, and about 62% of these people were first-time donors, people donating for the first time to a political campaign, which means that apolitical people who aren't usually involved and out there letting their voice be heard, are fired up. The choice of a running mate is one of the most consequential decisions of Harris's political career thus far. I think that's fair to say, as she hastily pulls together a campaign to challenge Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump and U.S. Senator JD Vance, his vice presidential pick in the November 5th election. Vance will also make a campaign stop in South Philadelphia on Tuesday to try to steal attention away from VP Harris. I mean, they use the word hastily pulls together a campaign, which is true, it is hastily, but I think she's done a really good job. It's not like she's speedily thrown everything together. Everything has been very cohesive. The transition has been great. It's been seamless, and the rhetoric that they use is fierce and great. Josh Shapiro, 51, is a rising star of the Democratic Party with strong approval ratings in Pennsylvania, whose 19 electoral votes makes it a must-win state for both Harris and Trump. As I said earlier in the video, this being a tipping point state could give Shapiro a massive edge over Walz. Honestly, if we're playing the odds, if we're playing the complete odds, I think Shapiro gives us the best odds because he could boost our chances of winning Pennsylvania by 1%, which could win us the election completely. But I think Tim Walz is more relatable. He's more warm, if you know what I mean. Leave a like if you know what I mean by Tim Walz being more warm, but Josh Shapiro giving us better odds.